Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you compare Sheffield Wednesday with Stockport, is in every aspect. Is a different level, and
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of All Wednesday. This week we've got a very special guest on, Shefki Kuqi. A lot of people, especially my age, will remember Shefki for his wild celebration. Shefki, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
all good. Thanks, all good, and thanks for
Excellent.
inviting me.
It's a pleasure. Before we get to talking about Wednesday, I do want to talk about that celebration. Um, how did that rib cage breaker come about? When did you first do it, and why did you first do it?
Like everybody else, really, we always, as a player, you always plan things and you always do things in training and in your head. So I, I kind of started quite early, and we used to do when we was young, jumping on the water and stuff. So then that's where all really started from, and sometimes when you do things and your emotion and your feelings, everything else, takes you to the different level. And I think that celebration, especially when I came to UK, and people start to appreciate more, and so that's what it makes you even do more and more, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember trying to do it in the park. I was always terrified that I was going to hurt myself there. And I don't know if it was because I was young, but it felt like when you were doing it, it was just getting higher and higher and higher. And did you ever get injured, or did any of your managers ever tell you like, all right, mate, calm it down here, you're going to hurt yourself?
uh, no, I never got injured, and like you said, you know but like everything, the more you practice, the better you become, in anything. And even that, the more often you do, and you seems to get higher and higher, and but there's also a certain technique, how you come down and everything else, but it looks amazing, it looks great. And like I said, the feeling and the excitement when you score, is something special. And sometimes you do things without really thinking, and that became more like I said, the more you practice, the better become. And yes, Ipswich, when I went to Ipswich, Joe Royer, the manager, told me, if you hurt yourself, you're gonna get fined, because we cannot lose you in this celebration. So it looks scary, but it wasn't that scary, like I said, because it became a more practical,
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's get on to your time at Wednesday. Um, how did you end up coming to Hillsborough? If I recall, it was a pretty decent fee back then, 1.5 million euros or something like that. It was seven-figure fee. How did you end up making the move to Sheffield Wednesday?
Uh, well, I joined Stockport from Finland, and I always joined the club based on, I wanted to move to the next level and next step. Stockport was a very small club, and I came to Stockport. Like I said, my idea and my target was to come to a club where I can play, I can show myself, because Finland, that time and even today, is not very highly rated, and I did really well there. But my step was to go to the next level, and UK was the style of play and what suited me. And I came to Stockport. My target was to get there, get into the team, establish myself there, and look for the next club. And funny enough, before I joined Sheffield Wednesday, I went to Blackburn. Blackburn was in the Premier League when Graham Souness was the manager there,
Yeah.
and I was close to go there, and it didn't happen. I think some of the people know the reason why, but then then I actually went to Blackburn for we agreed to go for a week. I ended up going there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was back off. So I came back, and then I didn't go back again, because the club allow me. So that gave me even more appetite to push myself and to go because, like I said, Premier League was my target, and I had a chance to go there, and the coach or the manager was he was there, actually stopped me going there to the Premier League. But then Sheffield Wednesday came up, and and I didn't want to. I just wanted to move to the bigger club.
Yeah, and did you feel that immediately when you got to Wednesday? You say you wanted to step up to a bigger club from Stockport. Did when you walked through the doors at Middlewood Road, when you walked out at Hillsborough, did you feel that you were in a bigger place, so to speak?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you compare Sheffield Wednesday with Stockport, is in every aspect. Is a different level, and the stadium, the crowd, the everything. But I always said it was pity because I always felt I was at Sheffield Wednesday at the right club, but a wrong time. Because that time when I came there, it was all sorts of issues, because it only was a couple of years when the club came from the Premier League. They were still having huge bill wages and everything else, so it was really really tough time. But if you put that on the side, I really enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because one of your seasons ended in relegation. It was a tough period for Sheffield Wednesday at the time. Second relegation in a few years as well after you've dropped out of the Premier League. What do you think it was that was going on at Wednesday at that point that was making it so difficult to sort of turn things around?
um, things when sometimes things happen, it doesn't happen overnight. There is long time and long spell, and I think that was the case there. What's happened previously, sometimes I think now things are different compared to that time when I was there. When the clubs come down from a Premier League, obviously now they get the parachute money and all these different. But that time it was like I said, they had big players, big wages, and going down to the Premier League, obviously everything cuts off, and the television money, the sponsor, all these kind of things. And like I said, everything that time was going downhill, and the club was trying everything they can to survive and keep going and stuff. And as a player, and I was foreign and coming from Finland, and you don't know all the issues and everything else, so. Now when you think in the situation, makes more sense. But that
Yeah,
time, you didn't understand and everything else, and like I said, sometimes when things goes wrong, it's very hard to change them around in a short time of of short period of time.
yeah. Did you realize as soon as you got to Wednesday that there was something not quite right there, or was it something that you sort of came to realize over a period of time?
Like I said, my point of view was that yes, it's a good movement. A massive club, huge club. When you step actually on a field and you see those crowds, and it makes you feel that this is a huge club, and the fans are very demanding, and actually you know uh, they're quite loyal. The fans, because all they want there, for the player to give you 100%. And you know, I've been lucky enough to play in so many clubs and see all the different fans. But actually, Sheffield Wednesday fans were like I guess everywhere else. But I felt that even more. Even if you have a bad day, but you try, they support you. But also, if you know we all have bad days in some period of time, but if you don't try, then that's what they get frustrated. And that's I felt that the most in Sheffield Wednesday fans. They are very very supportive, but if you don't try it, they can see that as well.
Yeah, I mean that was part of your game, wasn't it? You were a trier. You were always going to sort of be bundling about up top and showing that physical side of things. And do you think that is one of the reasons why so many Wednesday fans did take to you?
I think so. I always said, and I always had back in my mind, this day will come one day where you have to stop. And I always said, I've never been most technically gifted player, but my strength and it was and my it was giving 100%. I always wanted to give 100%. I will always try to prepare myself in best condition I could. So like I said, everybody have a bad day sometimes in office, but included me, and but my my idea and my thought was always give everything you got.
Yeah. And what was it like scoring that first goal at Hillsborough for you? Obviously, it's a big historic ground. That must have been quite a special feeling.
Yeah, yeah, it's always, and I think it was also Watford first game, if I remember right, and I think I scored against Watford twice. So it's always, the first club, the first goal is so important, because I also remember I went to when I joined Stockport. I think I went seven out game or eight game without scoring. But when I scored the first one, then I hit quite a few regularly. So that first goal is always so important, and to get off the mark, and that's gets you feeling, and you're more relaxed.
Hello and welcome back to part two of this week's All Wednesday. We've got Shefki Kuqi on the line with us. Shefki, we've got to go into it now. Obviously, it was a disappointing season, but how was that Sheffield derby? Scoring in that game, that must have been something.
I think derby games are so special, and this is the only time where table position doesn't matter, league uh, doesn't matter where which league you are, and local derbies are all special because people live in the same town. They you know speak, they talk. The first fixtures that comes up before the season start, they always look when is the derby game and all things. So that was very very special, and for me to be the first time in local derby like Sheffield United is always. I wanted that to come as soon as possible.
Yeah, and scoring in it as well. What was the feeling like? Because obviously the Sheffield Derby, I find that the Sheffield Derby gets overlooked a little bit. When people talk about like the great British derbies, they talk about Celtic Rangers, they talk about the Manchester Derby, they talk about the London derbies that happen. And I don't know if it's because there hasn't been one in the top flight for so long, but it does feel like the Sheffield Derby is undersold a little bit around the world, and even in the UK. What was it like? 'Cause obviously, we've got one. Well, we've got a couple coming up this year. What was it like being in the city around that time when the derby was going to take place?
You can sense soon as that week starts. Even the training, the atmosphere in amongst of the players, the preparation, everything. So even fans, some of them start to come to the training ground. There is always, you know there's nothing else. Like I said, you forget the table position, you forget the other issues, or other things, what's happening and what's going on, and you just focus for that one, because that's that's actually the only time where you can put yourself and do everything you can for those supporters, because they do suffer a lot, and they do travel a lot, and they miss work days at the work, because sometimes long journey, and this is for me personally. This was the time where you know you put everything you can, to give those fans, that pride for that week, because I also understand, after a couple of weeks, even they get back to the normal, but
Mm.
for a couple of weeks in the town, at the work, wherever they are, because I know that everything is about talks about that result, and this
Yeah.
is the for me is personally only time where you give everything you got and make the fans happy, and make them feel good when they go back to work for Monday.
Yeah, obviously, Lloyd Owusu scored the first goal. That's always obviously the first goals are always important in games, but to get the second to make it 2-0, was it almost like not relief because you've still got time left in the game, but to give yourself that 2 goal buffer, did that just feel like we're going to get him here?
Yeah, I think 1-0 is always, the other team, they always feel, you got one chance, and when that second one comes, and you the supporters, that gives you the extra boost, and this is very hard for the other team to come after that, 2-0 down, and like I said, the crowd, the atmosphere, and everything else is very very hard to
Yeah,
come back from that.
yeah, and to do it at home as well, having Hillsborough bouncing 2-0 up, yeah, like just exactly what you want to be playing in as a footballer, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly.
Um, I seem to recall Lloyd Owusu headed off the pitch after he scored, right?
Yeah, it was very very funny story, because you scored, and then the next minute you see him on the side of the pitch, and you think, what the hell is going on, and he's throwing up there, and he's like, what's going on? What's happening? He's like, oh, I don't know. I think his emotion and then excitement, everything takes over him, and it was like really really like strange, and it happened a couple of times. I don't know why, but we used to, and he did ask him, but he didn't know himself either, because some of the time, he goes to the toilet, before the game, and it was like either throwing up or talk to himself, or he's like, I think he's sometimes his emotion takes over him.
Yeah. Now there were some interesting players in that Sheffield Wednesday side, wasn't there? Like you say, there was that little bit of a layover from the Premier League. What one player that we've spoken about before was on the show was Gerald Tibon. I mean, I remember Gerald Tibon just having like technique wise just being unbelievable. What was he like to play with?
Eh, like you said, he was unbelievable. When you look at him, he was the type of person, if you don't know him as a footballer, and you look him in a street, you see him somewhere in a street or in town, you never believe he's a football player, because he was tall, skinny, had no muscles at all, but he was some character, and when he wanted to play, he was unstoppable, and like you said, his long legs, skinny, long legs, his technique was amazing. And actually, even now, I don't know where where did he always get that kind of power, because when he strike the ball, he could hit. And
Mm,
when you look, like I said, when you look his legs, he's got no muscles, and you think, where does he generate all this power, but and then makes you feel, sometimes it's not always the muscle, it's about the connection you get on the
yeah.
ball, and that's where the power created, but like I said, it was very, for me, he was a nice guy. I go well with most of the players, always. And but I know some people finding him difficult, but you have to find. I think there is certain way. How you can connect with him, and how you can get on with him.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you about sort of the way your time at Wednesday came to an end. Start of the 2003-2004 season, you got a few goals in the first few games, but you'd had your number changed. Am I right in saying? And then by the end of September, you were playing for Ipswich. Like, what sort of happened there?
Well, actually, like you said, when we were on a holidays, when I came back, I find out, my shirt number has been changed, and Chris Turner came in, and like
It was
always.
an important number as well, right? You were number 9, and you were, to have that taken away.
Yes, yes, and I was given number 15, 15, and you're coming, and because we got relegated, you always feel the responsibility, on your shoulders, because now we have to come back, and the size of the club, it doesn't, that club never deserved to be in a League One, and then you come back and you see, okay, then you find out, and is obviously, the manager is not planning on you, and then what happened, it was the assistant manager Willie Donaghy, who Joe Royal got the Ipswich job, and then next day I think he went to Ipswich, and then I had a phone call, will you come on loan? And then the clubs agreed to go on loan, and then I was 3 months loan, but after a couple of weeks, Ipswich, supporters start to shouting, sign him up, and I think then I signed permanent. That's
Yeah, what
that's
was
how really happened. On It was very
Yeah,
quick, to be fair. That
yeah.
Ipswich move I didn't have in your head at all, really. But I think Willie knew exactly knew me very well, and that's I think what's happening.
Yeah. Was it a little bit bittersweet for you? I know you said before that it felt like you were at the right club at the wrong time. When the decision was made that you were gonna leave, obviously you'd gone and you'd done well at Ipswich, but was there an element of you that thought, "I'd like to have stuck around at Wednesday and tried to get them back up after going down?"
Absolutely, absolutely. Because like I said, for me, I am quite emotional guy, and I live with emotions, and stay, in myself. Like I always know, football is a team game, is not individuals. But when you get relegated, it's always feel like is bigger is your fault, and especially when you play up front. And sometimes we live with others, because it doesn't matter how good you are if you don't get the service and the team's not playing well, and like sometimes goes a couple of minutes without touch the ball, and you get very frustrated. But when you play up front, and the team get relegated, you always feel it's your responsibility and your fault, because you're the one to score the goals.
Yeah, yeah. Have you had much chance to come back at all over the years? Have you been back to Hillsborough?
Yeah, I've been quite a few times. I've been quite a few times there. Not this season, but this season haven't managed to be there yet. But I do come often. So it's always nice to go to those teams and clubs who you played, and just to see how they do. And I really thought first game against Plymouth, I watched it on a TV, and the boys will fly in. They play some really great stuff and score some beautiful goals. And I thought it looked really really good. But then they had a little spell, and now it looks like they're coming back again. So let's hope things go in the right direction. And